do you still hold your position that it was strategically advantageous with your comments on the guy that got shot at the Trump rally?
Was it strategically advantageous? I don't know. Maybe it's hard to know the impact, I guess.
Oh, I feel like you burned a lot of bridges, like with Shapiro and everything, and you said you thought you could have gone harder on them. I felt like you had them all in your pocket, and it would have been a good opportunity to ambush them.
Maybe, but I also feel like one, I would have only gotten one ambush off for like a really hardcore convo before none of them would have wanted to talk to me. And two, I also feel like after I went super ultra hard, I feel like other people started to as well after I kind of opened the floodgates on that. Like Mehdi Hassan did it to Piers Next, and he explicitly, I think they even mentioned me. So it's hard to know like um, it's hard to know like I guess the effects that things can have downstream. It's hard to say.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's all.
All right, I'll have to be careful, bud.
All right, so I take issue with your love of AOC.
Okay, why is that?
Okay, because I think AOC is very cringe, and I don't like her wing of politics. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is the reason you like AOC, is it because she's one of those leftists that actually supports the Democratic Party and understands the value and actually having people that like democracy or whatever in there, which is kind of different to a lot of other leftists that kind of don't give a shit and they don't care about anything politically or anything.
Yeah, a little bit. And she's like a good, like, she seems like she genuinely cares. She seems like she's trying to be politically effective. She's a really good messenger on social media. She's probably to the left of me on policy, but I don't know if she's like a full blown socialist still or not. But
I don't. I think she probably is. Lately, she's been doing, I mean, a lot of what you've been talking about, just supporting the candidate and stuff. But like, if you go back to the Trump years, I mean, she did still do the whole photo shoot, looking over the border fence, pretending like she was looking at a concentration of children or whatever in children in concentration camps, which is bullshit. She did the whole thing, putting her arms behind her back, thinking or like pretending as if she was getting arrested or stuff like that. There's still the whole Green New Deal thing. I mean, that was like one of her major policy positions earlier on in her entire political career. I mean, that
yeah,
stuff still
but I mean, like,
sticks.
this is back, she was like, wasn't she literally like 20 years old or something? She's like pretty young, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but like ideologically, would she have changed that much? Probably not. Now, politically
Mm,
effective, like political effectiveness, probably she's changed, but or she has changed, obviously. I think
you don't think she's
from a
changed
Demo,
ideologically whatsoever or at all?
I doubt it. I doubt it. I think AOC is actually a very smart person. I super disagree with her ideologically, but I think she's smart enough to recognize what's the best way for me to actually be politically effective. I got to side with the Democrats and probably like reform them from within. There's like a lot of leftists that would say the Democrats are, or like right wingers, they're actually right wing. AOC might be one of those people that just, she's like that, but she doesn't reject them outright. She would say, well, they're closer to my side and maybe I can move them closer.
I mean, who else besides AOC then, I guess, right now?
No one, no one. I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. It's just,
Like, I would prefer, I guess, like an AOC energy with like I guess, like a Pete Buttigieg, like ideology ish, I guess. Um, but I don't
yeah, I
think,
agree with that.
yeah, but and then it's also it's like really young right now in the season, right? Like we've got a lot of time until the next presidential election. There's a lot of people who are like freaking out. It's like, where's the leadership in the Democratic Party? Like I've even said some things, but the reality is there's not usually any leadership while you're waiting between elections. It's not like a whole bunch of shit is popping off, in your off
Yeah.
season when you, yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with when it comes to that, I think people maybe need to look a little less to the Democratic Party and just to the kind of Republicans that they can flip, like Mitch McConnell, even like Rand Paul signed some bill or something like that. He was part of some thing in Congress that was kind
I
of
don't
against the
think
tariffs.
I don't think
You don't think so?
Democratic alliances are going to be forged just with some of like the never Trumper people. Like I think those are, and those aren't even never Trumper people. Like I don't, no, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think
All right.
because I don't think. Yeah, like you might get these guys maybe to not support Trump, but you should probably be trying to turn out your base and appeal to your base more, and maybe more people towards the center, like center left, or maybe independents. Yeah.
All right. That's all I got.
Okay. Be careful, bud.
Thanks.
Parks, what do you want?
Yo, just to preface before I say this, I am a massive lib. I'm not far left or anything. I am a massive lib.
Okay.
But I'm just coming to it's regarding the billionaires thing. You know,
Okay.
when Bernie Sanders after the Senate and you was complaining like, oh, stop blaming the billionaires, whatever, whatever. I just see a massive problem of some guy, richest guy in the world, on a whim, just decides to buy Twitter and turns it into the biggest propaganda machine of all time. And there's no accountability to it. It's not public. There's no board. No one can even do anything to him. There's no inquiry. Like, there's nothing. It's just a private company. Like, what I'm saying is, at least if there was a board, or if there was like 30 like-minded people, let's just say evil people, I think that would be far better than just a guy, a billionaire, on a whim, buying Twitter and just making it to what it is today. But I don't know if that was the main. I think you said it doesn't matter about the money. It just matters that. I'm not sure what the argument you said there was.
I mean, like, I absolutely agree 1,000,000,000,000% that there's huge problems with the social media stuff and the power that like social media can have today and the complete and utter lack of accountability. I just don't know what the fixation on the billionaire part matters. Like, if it was a board of people,
it could be a millionaire. Like, if $1 million could buy Twitter, if that makes sense, it would be a millionaire problem. If that makes, it's not about the amount of money. Realistically, it's just that he can.
But it seems like the issue has less to do with like the fact that one person or whatever could do this. It's just more like the fact that social media in general can wield so much power. I think is like pretty bad. I think there's a lot of issues with that.
Was that the main problem you had with Bernie coming out and blaming him? To be fair, it was pretty reductive, Bernie doing that. But on some aspect, I do agree with.
Well, my main issue with that is that, one, I don't think it's rhetorically effective anymore. I just think I think the season for that has passed. I think Americans have shown that they clearly don't give a fuck if a billionaire is literally running the country. So one, I think the season has passed on it. Two, I just don't think it's very, I don't think the policy messaging is good, because what policy do we get out of fuck billionaires? Like, almost all the policy suggestions from that, I think, are really dumb. And then they keep us from talking about better policies. And then there's a third reason, I forgot it, but
well, I've had no one speak about media policy. I mean, it does get a bit in America. You have obviously the First Amendment or whatever. I don't know if this would go into that jurisdiction, but no one is talking about what to do with the media at all. And it is a kind of you know, fashy. You know, you don't want to go to that point, right? But you guys are gonna drive off a cliff, and you know, as
yeah,
a Brit,
I agree. No one is talking about it, and
guys.
that bothers the out of me. And it's one of the reasons why I don't like the billionaire memes as much, is because I think it takes away like actual conversations about stuff like the media. But the problem is that conversation is really hard, because now you're really talking about are like limitations on freedom of speech, and how do you regulate like a platform like that, like what is true or what's false or what's maliciously false. And that's a really hard thing to talk about. But we need to have that conversation, but we can't, because people just want to like reduce it to the most simple thing, which I think is annoying.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it.
Like, so I come from the left. You know, I'm a liberal now, but I didn't start off as a liberal. I was a bit of a leftist, and you know, I believe in like all, you know, the woke shit. But like, it seems like even with the woke shit, you know, I can let go. You know, I'll say N-words and F-bombs and all the good shit. Who gives a fuck? Jeez. But like, when it comes to the messaging, it seems like nobody wants to hear anything about the woke shit anymore. Nobody wants to hear shit about like, oh, billionaires control anything. Like, how do you? What can we say? Because we don't want like, we don't want too woke shit, right? Like, even the chat, right? Like, say this thing about the Lady Ballers movie, right?
Okay.
Fucking the conservatives make the Lady Baller movie, and it's just full of nothing but like conservative jokes back to back to back. Chat fucking eats it up. We're laughing at it, we're laughing with it. But like, say like we put woke shit in a game, oh, we can't fucking take it. We cannot fucking take it. But it's like, it feels like,
what do you mean by that? We can't take it.
It seems like chat just gets chat can't handle woke shit at all. It feels like we can't handle woke shit at all because like we go like, oh fuck, it's fucking cringe.
I
Like,
mean,
oh,
I
we
think
know
you
you're
can
gay.
do
That's
like,
like,
I think you can do like woke shit. Just don't do it like.
but I don't. Well, I'm
cringely,
asking
right?
what the line is. I'm just asking like what the line is on like woke shit, like before it's cringe.
I think the line is generally when something like good, it's like good satire, I guess. It's like it's subtle and it communicates something without being preachy about it or without feeling like, yeah, without feeling like preachy about it, I guess, is the important thing.
Preaching. Okay. I see a lot of people in chat. They're saying like, "Oh, we usually do it ironically." It's like, is there a point where like like it's too much irony that you can't tell?
I would need. It would depend on what we're talking about. I would need an example of like what.
Well, no, it's just like I'm looking at the chat and the guys are like, "Oh, we're mostly just joking about it. Like, you know, we're just being ironic." It was like, it's like the jacking off thing. It's like, well, is there a point where you're not jacking off anymore? Like you're not just asking questions anymore, or
Yeah,
is it, or is like, okay,
it's hard without it's hard without me like seeing an example. I do agree though that sometimes there are people who will say like, oh, we're just joking, but they like do it so often that it's like they're not really joking. They're just like using that as an excuse.
So this random guy here, Nut, like, or Newell, whatever. He's like, no tears. I'm not woke. Shit is. He's like, no tears. I'm not woke. Shit is generally cringe. I think that's what he's trying to say. Like, is it just, or is woke shit just kind of cringe?
Well, like I think, I mean, fuck. I need an example of like woke shit. I guess. Give me an example of woke shit. Like, what exactly are we talking about?
I'm sorry. Let me think.
Yeah, no problem. Because like I think woke shit is cringe in the same way that like unwoke shit can also be cringe. It just depends on like how preachy like a particular message feels, and also probably just because of like the community, they might tend to watch more like woke shit. But like I bet, have you heard of that Sound of Freedom movie?
Yeah, I haven't watched it though.
Like my guess is that would be cringe as fuck to watch, and that would be cringe in an unwoke way. Where there's like some white savior dude stopping the illegal immigrants from like abducting children or whatever bullshit. It's probably ultra cringe, but for whatever reason the community just doesn't watch that type of stuff as much.
Maybe it would be like, maybe it's just like a curse of like the center. Maybe the leftists like eat up and woke shit like crazy. Like, hell yeah, we love the woke shit. Like, the Black Klansman movie where at the end they slammed the phone on whatever the fuck his name was, and I guess the right wingers probably just eat the shit up like from Sound of Freedom. I guess I don't know.
Was
Black
Klansman? I watched that movie a long time ago. Was that like a woke bad movie? I feel like I watched.
I mean like they probably eat the woke shit in the movie up. So like at the end of the movie, after the whole movie's gone by, and then he like he like talks shit to the leader of the KKK on the phone, and he slams the phone in their face, and everybody's like, oh boom.
Well, I mean, I imagine it comes off as like the movie just has to be written well and not like cringe, and I think it's probably okay. Like you watched that Everything Everywhere All at Once movie, right?
Nope.
Oh well, fuck you. But like in that movie, there's like part of the thing is like the daughter is like in a lesbian relationship, but there's never like a scene where like she's talking about like wow, heteronormative dating standards have destroyed my blah blah blah. Like it just kind of like presents it and then you just like deal with it as is. Or the fact that it's like a lot of the leads and stuff is based around like female leads. There aren't a whole bunch of scenes. I don't think there's a single scene where the woman is like, oh yeah, like he can't do this because he's a man, but I can do it because woman power or some like cringe shit like that. And as long as you don't have a ton of shit like that going on, I think you're generally in an okay spot.
That's weird. That's also kind of weird because I feel like in the past we've had characters that were very like that nobody cared about. But is it just because we're in a different time now? Like let's think of like Avatar: Last Airbender and the cartoon, obviously. And like in the beginning when they go to the southern or northern water tribe, whatever, the men don't train. The men train fighting, the women don't. They train healing. But but Katara's like, fuck yeah, I can do it too. Kind of like that, you know what I mean? But people like Avatar: Last Airbender. People can fucking soy out and say, "Oh, make a little cartoon." But like, motherfuckers love that shit. People love that shit. They still love that shit.
I haven't watched it, so I wouldn't be able to say. I don't know. I mean, like, did it like when I say? I don't know. Wait. Hold on. Wait. I don't know how to explain. Maybe I'm not explaining myself well. When I say like, don't make a big deal about it. Like, I don't mean like. don't ever bring it up, or maybe I don't even mean don't make a big deal about it, but don't do it in like a way that just feels like so fucking soy and contrived and forced and cringe or something. Like there's a thing about like a character like earning a particular thing or feeling like there's a thing that's earned rather than like this is a woman power thing or whatever. Like have you seen you've seen Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like nobody feels like Brienne of Tarth is some like super ultra feminist warrior who's like, oh God, like she's a woman power person, even though she does get made fun of a lot in that show for being a woman. And I think people underestimate her sometimes, like other nights because she's a woman and they make fun of her for being, you know, big, right? But it doesn't feel like preachy or wokey. She just is, you know, what she is. As opposed to like, have you seen like Captain Marvel?
Yeah, I've seen Captain Marvel.
So like Brienne of Tarth is made fun of for being a woman quite a bit, and in Captain Marvel, I don't think there were any jokes at all or any references to her being a woman, but I feel like Captain Marvel felt more, it almost felt more wokey because like every man she was against, she would just beat without trying, and it just felt stupid and unearned. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like that's a weird one though, because it's like, okay, they don't really mention her being a woman. Well, then again, you remember Captain Marvel, like this is like a whole, they're like a part of like this space military organization thing. She's literally like a fucking god. You would expect her to beat all the guys. I don't know. It's just like,
yeah, but I'm just saying that like the movie itself, weird. It feels like more.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. It's just like I just don't know why. I feel like even with the context of like she should be beating these guys. She's literally an Infinity Stone, like condensed into a person, right? Like she's literally like a
yeah, but it doesn't matter what the lore explanation is. What matters is how you... it has nothing to do with the lore explanation. You can write lore to explain anything. What matters is how it's justified through the medium. You have to see something. You can't just like present this as like, oh, this is what this person should be, boom. You have to like present that as part of the story, right?
I guess so. I just feel like there's like no winning.
Well, what do you mean? I just described winning, no?
Not really. No, I mean, you described winning as like Brienne, but then you compared Brienne to Tarth, like in Game of Thrones, like where motherfuckers just dying left and right, kind of. Where like you know, like the world is very brutal to like Captain Marvel.
Well, I mean, what about like Kill Bill? I think that was probably a good. These are good female protagonists, right? Then they don't and antagonists, and they don't make a big deal about them being women ever. There's no like woman power scene or whatever.
I guess so. Kill Bill. I can't remember exactly Kill Bill, but I mean, Alien. Alien's a good one.
Alien is a good one. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, I guess Kill Bill and Alien. I guess I have to rewatch them. I haven't watched them in a while. Rewatch them, just take a look at it, then like compare it to like Captain Marvel, and be like, okay, thanks for calling me retard, chat. Fuck you, Eisenhead.
It just can't stand like it just can't be like ultra preachy, and I think sometimes like conservative stuff can get preachy weird too, but maybe you just don't see it as much in Hollywood because there aren't as many like conservative writers. Like I said, if we were to watch like The Sound of Freedom, I bet that would come off as like ultra fucking cringe or whatever.
Okay. All right, before I leave, I just want to remind chat that Destiny has not watched Avatar: Last Airbender. Hate him. This is all a psyop to get him out.
Okay.
All right.
Be careful.
Thank you, man. Bye bye.
I personally feel like I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory. You can call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that Trump's doing, if you look at it through like the AI lens. Well, actually, let me ask this quick question real quick. Like, how closely are you following like all the AI stuff? Do you care about it, or are you just
not at all?
like...
But you can talk to me a little bit about it. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. All I wanted to say was that I do feel like if you look at a lot of this stuff through the AI lens, like if you really think that there's going to be a big AI, because you saw the Stargate stuff, right, with Trump, where like he's like, oh, you know, we're going to basically allow a $500 billion investment, and you know, basically OpenAI is going to be the main purchaser of that $500 billion investment. OpenAI is like the leading AI lab or whatever, right now with their researchers here in the US. I think Trump actually kind of believes in like the AI stuff like pretty heavily. I think someone's got like in his ear and told him like, hey, this shit is probably going to be like the next nuclear bomb to a certain degree, right? Like in the sense that like whoever gets like a really great working AI agent first is going to have a huge like military and economical and political advantage over the rest of the countries in the world. And I think if he understands it enough, he's like thinking about how he can utilize that to you know, stretch out his presidency maybe, or maybe like just do other things that he wants to do while he's president. And I think for you to believe that that's the case, you also have to like buy into like the AI like super acceleration stuff. So if you don't believe that like AI is going to significantly change the world by like 2030, when I say significantly, I mean like significantly, like we'll have like, you know, AI who are pretty much as good at humans at doing regular tasks on the computer, and maybe by 2030 we have like something that is better than us at like research. If you believe that stuff, then I think that I don't know. I don't think it's too much of a leap to assume that like a lot of the tariffs and the way that Donald Trump is trying to like set up the world economy and the world political landscape are like uncorrelated to that, or like not directly related to it, because it just feels like, you know, if you put all these other countries on the defense and you try and like destroy their economies so that they can't quickly adapt to this new revolutionary technology, then that puts you in an even better position to take advantage of it at the end of your term, and then potentially maybe extend your term if you want to, if you have the power to with that technology. What comes to your mind when I say that?
I don't know enough about AI to say that. You're saying that somehow using AI, he's going to be able to extend his term because if he gets AI first, there's just going to be a huge amount of things that are open to him because they figured it out first or something, and they can take advantage of it.
Yeah, pretty much. So, like, I mean, one thing to think about maybe, if you don't really care about the AI stuff, but if you want to learn more about it, is like if we have agents that can do pretty much the same thing that like a human can, like online for the most part, like, you know, and we can like replace those jobs. Um, there's a whole bunch of countries that are going to hurt really bad from that, right? Because there's like a whole bunch of countries that do a lot of stuff online. And if they could just much cheaperly hire like an AI agent to do all that stuff online that they wanted to do, then they're going to have a lot of people who are like out of work, right? Like I think in the United States, we can deal with that because like we are so wealthy and we have so much prosperity here. But if, you know, that were to happen to a country like the Philippines, like suddenly there's no like call centers and stuff like that, then that's really bad for that country. And then, you know, at that point, things become less about, I think, and so this is going to be like the hard sell, but like, if you believe in the AI stuff, I think you believe that the things that are really valuable at the end of the day are things like land. So that's why we're talking about like the Canada, Greenland stuff. And uh, basically, yeah, pretty much like land, because like people become like a lot less valuable if you have these AI agents that can pretty much do the same things that, you know, we can do, and then you can just like create robots and stuff. So really, like you want a bunch of land that you can build these data centers on, and then create factories for different things that you're going to want to create, because you're going to want to create a bunch of factories, because you're going to have if you have the super intelligence, the AI that's better than us at research and stuff, then you're going to want to be able to create all these new products that are going to be coming out as a result of like the new super intelligence, right? And so like things like Greenland and Canada, those seem suddenly like way more enticing, especially if you can get them in some sort of diplomatic way. I mean, obviously, I don't
I
think
mean, don't
Donald
we
Trump
already
is going to
have
like
like a
physically.
fuck ton of land in the United States?
We do have a lot, but I think when you're thinking from the perspective that Donald Trump is thinking from, you can never have enough, right? So, like, we do have a lot of land in the United States. We could just build a bunch of data centers and stuff here in Nevada. In fact, we're building a bunch of data centers in Texas right now, which also has a ton of land, right? But there's yeah, I don't think that he thinks that we have enough just based on that. And I think he wants to keep, another thing is like, I think he wants to keep like America the promised land, so to speak, and like have those other areas be, okay, well, that's the place where we can like, if we have control over them, we can just like build all the factories and stuff over there. They don't necessarily have to be over here. Um, yeah, that's kind of just my thesis on like why Donald Trump is doing like a lot of these things, if you look at it through an AI lens. And I do think that, I think you have to admit, because of the Stargate project, do you know anything about the Stargate project, or?
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay, okay. So he announced it right at the beginning of his presidency. Just a real quick recap on it. Basically, he went to a bunch of different investors, or not he, the AI people came to him. So the AI people came to him and they were like, "Hey, we have all these regulations. We want to build these data centers and, you know, get all this energy infrastructure off the ground so we can make the next big super AI." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, like we can, you know, we can do that, you know." And then he announced the Stargate project, and it was supposed to look really good for his
What
presidency
is
and whatnot.
Stargate?
But it's like it's a 500 billion. It's basically a new company that's being created with investment from a bunch of different really big tech companies, and they're pledging to invest 500 billion in creating AI infrastructure, with the prime buyer of this AI infrastructure being OpenAI. So OpenAI is going to buy all of the AI infrastructure from this company that has pledged to spend 500 billion USD over the next 4 years, the rest of Trump's presidency, on AI infrastructure.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, and the only reason I bring it up is in relation to like the whole Donald Trump stuff, where it's like, you know, he obviously at least knows like AI is on his radar. You know what I mean? Like he's like looking into it, and he's you know, he's got Elon Musk or whatever. I'm pretty sure he brought Elon Musk on because he's like, oh, this tech guy, he does AI. You know, he has the Tesla. But you know, Sam Altman is also there, and like all the other tech leaders are also there. That's another reason why I think a lot of the tech leaders were showing up to his what was his inauguration or whatever, and like giving him like $1 million. Sam Altman also did that, right? Sam Altman is like super liberal, but he still did that. I think there's kind of like this thing going on at the top where they're like, okay, well, we think that this stuff could go faster. Oh, that's another thing. Like, do you believe in like a fast takeoff, or are you like familiar with like singularity stuff at all, or no?
No, I'm guessing it's a fast takeoff that once AI becomes like self-improving, there's going to be like a huge, like exponential increase in ability or something.
100% right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, you know, if we get an AI that's as good as us at doing research, then we just lock it in a box or in a warehouse somewhere and let it improve itself for however much time. And then it gets like way better, way better, way better. If you ever want to like learn about this kind of stuff, I definitely suggest to go watch like a Dwarkesh Patel podcast or something like that. That guy's really good at getting to like the really close people who are involved in like the AI stuff and asking them really great questions, and then also challenging them too. Like, it's an open question as to whether there'll be like a fast takeoff. I personally believe that it's very possible. And if you talk to the people who are working at these companies, like the CEOs and stuff, keep in mind they're CEOs, you know, their prosperity is tied to these answers. But if you go talk to these CEOs, they tell you stuff like, hey, fast takeoff seems like more possible now than ever. Like, it's like, I think the most written, like, it's updating like every month, right? Like, I think very recently Sam Altman came out and he was like, look, you know, like, I think that fast takeoff is now more possible than it ever was, after like our most recent update to like our, you know, our AI or whatever. And I don't know, people like Sam Altman don't necessarily strike me. This might get me like a whole bunch of hate, but like they don't necessarily strike me as like someone who wants to be disingenuous. I think he actually believes the stuff he's saying. I think that's why he works at the company. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But if the fast takeoff does happen, then me personally, I think the chances of like a Trump, a lot of people make jokes online like God Emperor Trump, like dystopian future, those go up a lot, because if you do get to the point to where you have super intelligence, you can start solving problems related to aging and deteriorating health like very quickly, because they're able to like you know, like the I think it's called fish stock. There's like an AI that like does chess really well, right? And like you just like it can like think like 1,000 moves ahead of like other people. No person on the planet can defeat this AI at chess, right? But just imagine it's like there's an AI that can do that, but it can do it with general problems, like any logical general problem that it can run experiments on. And then if they get like virtual reality really good, then it can just run experiments internally and then make like a lot of progress, scientific progress, like by locking it inside of a box, right? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I just wanted to bring to your attention and talk about and put on your radar.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thanks for the AI stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, just as a heads up, when people come on to talk about AI, I cannot verify or deny anything because I don't know fuck all about any of this shit. So, just as a heads up, okay? I have no idea. So that could have all been bullshit, or could have been all super true, and who knows?
Whenever anybody talks about AI, they always talk about it as if like, I don't know, you kind of just start like losing the conversation, you know. But
Okay.
it's not that AI is going to replace people. It's going to make the people that are the best at what they do better.
Okay.
And so like, you know, like people that are the best at what they do, they're not going to have issues with it. And nobody ever talks about that point. So I just want to talk about it.
Okay. Okay.
Goodbye, Destiny.
Wait, what? Well, you didn't talk about it.
What do you want me to talk about specifically?
Well, I don't know. You just said you wanted to talk
Examples?
about it.
I just wanted people to hear it. Like, because whenever I hear AI conversations, it really comes down to like, I just lose interest really fast because it just sounds like bullshit, right? Like taking jobs and the
Oh, I mean,
singularity.
I think I kind of agree with you. I think that, I mean, unless something like there's some huge fundamental shift, which some AI people say there will be, then I agree with you. It's just going to be something that separates apart like people who are really good with people who are not as good at utilizing the new tool, right?
Exactly. The new donor class, you know?
Sure, or the new whatever you call, it's not like petite bourgeois, but like the emerging, like, I don't know what you call the class of worker who's just a worker and not an owner, but they have like ultra high TC, right? Like these people who work
Yeah,
for
they have a lot of
Amazon or
value.
yeah, these
they
people
have
work for
yeah.
Amazon or Google and they get paid like 450,000 a year. Like those types of people will benefit greatly, I would imagine.
Everybody down the line, honestly. Like, I think just about anybody that hasn't used AI in their workflow currently, I think if they were to actually give like a well-intentioned attempt to integrate AI into their workflow, like I think it would do a lot for them. And I just don't think enough people are doing it. It's like being like the last kid on the playground with a Tamagotchi, you know?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Are you
Yeah,
are you a wait, are you a software person?
yeah. I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of reverse engineering on like hardware.
Somebody said this guy
Medical
never
equipment.
tried Copilot, only uses it for school 100%.
What did he say? He uses Copilot for only for school?
100%.
Why? Like, you know what? I know why. The truth is it's like I said though. It really comes down to if you know how to do something really well. If you're a good programmer, it's like, okay, this is gonna date me. Destiny, have you ever played Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, you know how Barrett was like he was big buff dude. He could beat people up with his fists, right?
Okay.
But he had a fucking gun on his hand.
Yeah.
AI is the gun rather than just having a fist, you know?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the truth is what they're teaching in school now, at least from when I went to college and everything I'm hearing about it now, AI is like the ultimate cheat tool. I think you actually have to want to do well anymore because it's so easy to cheat through just about anything. And AI is just a way to augment your own ability. But
If
yeah,
I had to guess without knowing anything about anything, my guess is probably one of the things that AI does is it probably separates people out who are working in software who have like a good conceptualization of the systems they're working on versus people who are
yeah,
just kind of like code monkeys. And if you're like a code monkey and somebody's saying like AI is coming, the AI is not really helping you because all you ever do is the stuff that the AI would do for you. Like if you take a code monkey and you give them AI and it
yes,
frees up their ability to do what? Nothing. They don't have like the higher level conceptualization.
exactly.
Sure, but you're really talented senior devs or whatever, or you're really talented people that conceptualize frameworks well can use AI to shortcut a ton of the work that is just like bothersome would be my guess. So it's probably going to be harder for those people. That would be my guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly it. It's legitimately going to be that. It's going to be the people you hate in your office the most. They're just going to be replaced and it's going to be fantastic. That being said, it's sad for them and I feel for them. But in general, like you know what I'm talking about. Like what you've worked places where people want to do a good job and then there's people who don't give a fuck at all. Like,
Sure.
you know, I'm not saying become a workaholic or anything. I'm just saying like, you know, having a clear split between home and work and, you know, living a comfortable life, like, you know, that's important, but living as comfortable of life while doing as little as possible. Everybody that, you know, makes it a point to try to create something good, they all hate you if you're that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of a little bit. Yeah. It's
That's it.
interesting because
That's
I feel like growing up, if you were like a tryhard in school, you were a fucking loser. But if you were like
Yes.
a tryhard at work, like people loved it. Like you're an entrepreneur, or you're like a grinder or whatever. But nowadays it feels like it's flipped to where like tryharding and like school and stuff is really cool. But then once you hit the labor force, you should be the most like lazy slob piece of shit ever because fuck everything. I don't know. It's kind of weird that it's like switched like that, I guess. Yeah. Like, I don't think you can talk about being a really hard worker anymore without somebody literally just making fun of you for saying, like, oh, wow, you're working for the corporate overlord and you're never going to be rich. And then meanwhile, like, a lot of these types of people are earning, you know, like huge fucking like real six-figure income. Not like I make six figures at 104K a year, but like I'm getting like 300, 400 TC from Amazon, Google, Netflix, whatever the fuck, like at like 24 years old or whatever. But yeah, I guess it's hard to even
Absolutely.
talk about that stuff. Yeah.
It's important to like people that are going to be able to utilize AI really well are people that can really like visualize what they want to do on like a long timeline. You know what I mean? And being able to move towards that rather than like you said, a code monkey, like literally having to do, oh, but then I need to get this part working and then that part. People that can see a bigger picture can utilize AI better to do just more with what, you know, they can just work faster than they would be able to otherwise. And that's going to be the true utilization of it. It will replace people, but not in the way people think. It's literally just going to make people that do have that long-term vision, they're really going to be able to just do so much more. There's a joke in like the you know in software, it's the 10x engineer, right? And it's literally that. It's just being able to take somebody like that and leverage AI for something that could benefit them. And like I said, anybody that hasn't used AI in any like workflow they currently have, I would recommend you do. Just because it can be a massive time saver. And I'm not saying use it for everything. I'm just saying find ways you can use it to save yourself time and energy. Like who wants to, who wants to write some, I don't fucking know. Who wants to write like a business proposal? You know what I mean? But you want to really get a good template and then like work it out just to save yourself the energy of having to research the absolute best way to do it from scratch. You're really just cutting the work down by some amount, and I think that's important.
Okay.
Thanks, dude.
All right. Have fun. Be careful.
Take care.
So, I was just curious about strategy. That's kind of all I was looking to bring up with you. I mean, obviously, I know that your position on strategy is, toe the line for now, win midterms, shit like that. What are your thoughts on like changing the entire strategy? Like, I feel like we need to do some more unhinged shit.
Well, I mean, do we? It seems like right now, I mean, I kind of would have agreed before, and I would like to see it personally, because I think it's fucking based. But I mean, it seems like right now the administration is kind of shooting itself in the foot. So I think the safe dem argument that they're going with is don't get in the way of your opponent when they're making a mistake, basically.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of do tend to agree with that. I get what you're saying. I don't know. It's just, for me personally, like a lot of the people around me, it's become super obvious to me that like there's a very small amount of people out there who are interested in politics, but also interested in politics enough to actually educate themselves on the nuances of the issues, right? Which I'm sure, obviously, you're. But I don't know. It feels really hopeless right now because it seems like because of the lack of education and like knowledge on these subjects, it just seems like there's no way. It literally feels like Pied Piper leading the fucking retards. I don't know what else to do. Like I even have family members that it's similar to how you describe it. Like you'll sit there and try to explain them the details, but because they don't really have working knowledge on any of this shit, they're kind of just taking your word for it too. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. Like, I mean, right now we just need to win elections, okay? And then we'll worry about the rest of the stuff later, I think, probably. But that's a whole other thing about education and bringing civics back, and it's like a different conversation, right? I mean, I don't disagree that it needs to happen, but.
So the only other thing I was curious about, like, I know people have asked you this before. What do you think is like? Do you think there's a line that if Trump crossed it would galvanize enough people to, take up arms, protest like more unhinged shit than what we saw on like January 6th?
Like in favor of Trump?
Nah, like against him.
Oh, I have no idea. Like I said, I think that the electoral consequences are going to come about. I mean, if Trump didn't leave after being like impeached or something, then that would be a huge thing. But I think there's going to be hopefully a lot of electoral consequences for the stock market stuff. So we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, that's kind of my hope right now. Is I'm hoping that with the economic hurt that people are feeling from this, that eventually it's going to be, it's going to get to a point where enough people with enough money have had enough, and they're kind of losing it. So something might change. But yeah, when it comes to the general public, I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope on that.
I mean, I guess, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, we'll see. I mean, we're about to see real quick next week, so.
True. Yeah. Well, that's about all I really wanted to talk about. So thank you for having me on.
Okay, be careful.
You too.
Yeah, so I will continue the debate because last guy, I think, made a fatal mistake that I see everyone do. It's the exact same thing when people say, why do we need a trial for this guy if he's guilty? The assumption of safety. The thing I am doing is so uniquely special, there's absolutely no way for machine to replace it. The high understanding of
Wait, who is saying you
systems,
think somebody made that claim that something that somebody's doing is so great it'll never be replaced?
the previous guy, high level understanding of
Well, I
software
don't think
systems,
I
for
don't think that
example.
yeah, I don't think that guy was saying that like that'll never happen, but just the short-term impact of any AI increase is people are probably going to be able to utilize it and it's going to set apart like really good workers from kind of shitty workers probably. But I doubt that guy would make the argument that it's impossible for AI to ever take over some more generalized tasks or conceptual tasks.
Well, then the question is how short is short term, because everyone is betting that it will phase out pretty much everyone
Who knows? I don't know.
in like a few years.
That's what everybody's thinking about, huh?
Because it seems like everyone is betting that the phase where people are enhanced by the AI before being phased out, it will be pretty short.
Maybe it will be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about AI, so I don't have strong opinions about any of it.
Yeah, and in regards to the previous guy who was talking about the training versus inference costs, it's pretty much, well, actually, but people do take into account inference costs during training, so that they get slightly better model with higher training, so that they can inference it for cheaper later. It's well, actually, but those two things are not exactly the amount, but concentration of compute power. For training, you need highly localized cluster to do it efficiently, and you can inference this on whatever you want, pretty small workstation.
Okay. Okay. Sure. I have no opinion on this, but all right.
Yeah, pretty much. That's it.
Okay. Well,
Thanks. Bye.
thanks. Be careful. AI is the worst thing to ever happen to humanity just because it makes so many people want to talk about it.
Just wanted to ask something concerning Palestine, Israel. I don't care. I don't know if you care about this anymore. If you don't, you can just.
I love
kick me out.
Palestine, Israel. What's your question?
Okay, so my problem with things is I agree with everything you say, and
That's good.
and I think that I'm from Lebanon, so I don't think that matters. But like, I think your beliefs on things is way more common than you think in the Middle East and stuff like that. The
Beliefs
problem
on
I'm
which
having
things?
is Israel-Palestine.
Okay.
Yeah, even in Palestine itself, it's like even the people who say the propaganda, when we're talking to each other, they know that's propaganda in a way. Anyways,
Oh, sure.
that's
Yeah.
not the
Okay.
point. The point is that it's kind of I guess, like a selfish or a personal thing. So my brother is kind of stuck in the lefty circle of the internet, and like the problem I'm having is with trying to make him understand why Hassan and those people are bullshitting, I guess. Well, first of all, he's like a 28-year-old, so I can't blame him on being like a young guy who doesn't know things.
Okay.
Also, he just got accepted in neurosurgery, so residency, so he's not a dumb person at all.
Okay.
And I probably put a lot of reasoning why I left my Ben Shapiro right wing arc because of him and because of the things he told me.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem I'm having is, and of course he believes that you're a piece of shit who doesn't care about Palestinians and stuff like that.
Based.
So yeah, so watching you, I obviously know that's not true. It's just I kind of understand from his point of view because it feels like when you're talking about Palestine, Israel, it's almost always in the context of attacking the lefty people.
Yeah.
And I know that makes sense because it's the lefty people who are radically online, and it's not like there's a big streamer who's a Zionist who, I don't know, wants to murder all Palestinians, so you don't fight with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of what do you think, like, if you are constantly like fighting the pro-Palestine side, how do you think, or do you think that in a way you're kind of showing or giving the impression that
Yeah, I can see how I get that impression. I mean, there's a few links you can have to me like debating like very, very, very pro-Zionist people. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, otherwise, yeah, it is what it is.
yeah,
But
it's like yeah, it's a matter of like let's say you hate two things, but you're constantly talking about
yeah, how much you hate one. Yeah, I understand.
thing.
Yeah, it can give the impression. I get that. All I can say
Yeah.
is, yeah, I mean, you can link somebody to my other debates and see how they feel about that, but that's all I can say.
Yeah, because that's why, because like a lot of times when I tell him something that you believe, he's always like almost surprised, or like he's almost skeptical of it.
Sure.
Like if I tell him something where you're where something like very pro-Palestinian in a way, like your opinions on the West Bank or your opinions on even Netanyahu or something like that, it's almost like he's like, yeah, sure, maybe, okay, sure.
Yeah, I understand.
It's
Yeah,
like
because they don't
almost he
come up
doesn't
that
believe it.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of, it feels like, how do you even fight it if like I don't know how much I can put blame on him just because of like, okay, sure, maybe all he sees is you fighting with the lefties.
Yeah, I mean, like, to
And
be
like,
fair, though, I mean, like, also, that's because other people try to signal me as being that way as well. So, like, if you watch it, it's not like it's possible you could come to this belief about me by watching a lot of my content because I tend to argue with pro-pallies a lot. But there's also, like, the fact that people like Hassan and Noah Samson, like, if you engage with any of their content online, the only thing you've heard about me is that I'm pro-genocide, pro-Israel, shamelessly defends every single thing about Israel, hates Palestinians, hates, so like you're going to be getting all of that too. The former I can fight against just by trying to debate pro-Zionist people or trying to caveat, which I mean I try to do, but the latter I can't really fight against people like Hassan who literally just watch clip channels of me and then
yeah,
yeah.
I definitely understand that. It's just a matter. Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, express this annoying feeling I have, which like it's not anything that I can blame you for.
Yeah, no,
It's
I
just
understand.
a
Yeah, I
matter
get
of
it. Yeah.
yeah,
Tell the people that you should
yeah,
ask your brother, I guess, or whatever. Is he from Lebanon as well?
yeah. We're Lebanese.
Oh,
We've
okay.
born and raised there, and we just moved to the US for education reasons, I guess.
Gotcha. You should ask him like, oh, like if Hassan has so many good things to say about Destiny, why doesn't he ever debate him? He could convert his entire
Yeah,
audience. Wouldn't that be a good idea?
that's
Or why does he never watch like an entire Destiny video and respond with any actual facts towards the things he says? Why is he always watching like clip channels and then just saying like, oh, he's pro-genocide? Why not like respond with actual arguments with research or anything, you know? But
yeah. No. I always talk to him about things like that, and it's always like an annoying conversation, just because um, it almost feels like I don't know. I kind of understand it because when I was like young and in my Ben Shapiro era, like every time something comes up negative about Ben Shapiro, I always do the thing of like, yeah, sure, but you know what I mean. And it's the same with my brother right now. If I tell him like, oh, Hassan did this dumb thing or Hassan said this obvious lie, he's like, yeah, sure, but I don't know, Palestinians are living in shit situation or something like that. So I know like deep down he knows all the dumb things. It's just that he
oh, because he believes with the kind of the end thing, he'll excuse. It's almost like an ends justify the
yeah,
means type
it's
of thing.
yeah,
Sure.
almost like that. It's almost like okay, whatever Hassan or stuff like that they're saying, okay, maybe they're lying or something like that, but that doesn't matter as much because he truly believes, which is I guess true, that the Palestinians are living in shit situations and and like it's something should be done about it. It's just a matter of I guess it's because he thinks that they're in such a situation that it's almost like we can't put much of the blame on them.
Yeah, they're like
And I
retarded
understand
aliens. I
that.
mean, yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just a matter of, uh, I guess, if you start to say, and like, okay, so when it comes to the bare bones, I know for a fact that we agree a lot on everything that comes, like me and my brother. I mean, we agree a lot with what stuff that comes with Palestine and Israel. It's just a matter of, it's almost like, because I believe like the first thing that should be done uh, towards like peace in Palestine and Israel is like Israel leaving the West Bank or like at least doing something like um, very significant in the West Bank in a way, and like maybe the other part would be them I don't know if you agree with this, but like almost them bringing up a political party in Palestine to fight the political power of Hamas, if that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying. It's
And
just really complicated. One, that ship might have sailed for Israelis, given that every area they feel like they've withdrawn from has just resulted in a net bad, right? Withdrawn from southern Lebanon, right? Your country now, Hezbollah's
Yeah.
there. Withdrawn from the Gaza Strip,
I'm
and now
actually from the
Hamas.
south. So
Oh, okay. So yeah,
if you have questions about the South and history, I'm more than happy to answer.
sure.
But yeah,
But then,
I
and then
understand
also
that,
you
but
got the issue that like if you talk about like supporting a political party that they would be that they could empower. I mean, like I say that they should support the Palestinian Authority more and more, but like a lot of Palestinians in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip just view the Palestinian Authority as basically just an Israeli puppet. So it's like, okay, well, fuck, is that even like an effective way to combat that? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, but like let's say they do empower the PLO, or maybe not the PLO, maybe like some new thing. I don't know.
I think the PLO
But
is
like
fine, but
let's say okay, let's say they do empower the PLO, and like they start giving them fundings and then projects that are clearly being done in West Bank through funding through Israel. Don't you think that would make Palestinians be like, okay, uh, good things are happening, we're living in better situations, and it is through funding through like kind of through Israel, and of course I don't think that it should be Israel's responsibility to like rebuild things, like solely responsible. I think like the Arab countries, or at least the ones that aren't fucked, like Lebanon or I don't know, Syria, I guess, should also work on funding.
Yeah, I mean,
know,
I don't
projects in the West Bank.
disagree at all with that.
But like, yeah, I feel like
Yeah, I
it's
think
hard
it's
for me
is it
to imagine.
like Golan or whatever brought this idea up. I think we were talking that like the Palestinian Authority should be basically given a fuck ton of money by Israel and allowed to go into the Gaza Strip and like rebuild, and that rebuilding should be done under like the Palestinian Authority, so people can have the feeling that this organization has been empowered, they have money, they're using it to improve Palestinian lives. That something like that would be a good thing. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like yeah. So I kind of understand his ideas of things of like almost at this point, in my opinion at least, everything that could lead to a better outcome of things kind of has to be initiated by Israel in a way. If that
Sure.
makes
I
any
mean,
sense. Of course,
I don't think it has to
yeah.
be, but I mean, like, if it wants to get done, yeah, I think Israel is probably gonna have to be the one to do it. I think that's a little sad,
Yeah.
maybe, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So I feel like I kind of understand the frustration of like thinking Palestinians don't have anything, or not don't have anything, can't do anything about their situation, because I understand the idea that yeah, if anything good is going to happen, it should be mostly from a heavy push from Israel, and the only thing that Palestinians really have to do is just accept. It's like it's a lot of mental stuff, while Israel can do actual physical stuff, if that makes sense.
sure, yeah, maybe, I don't know. It would have to, it would ultimately end up being a lot of work on both sides. So,
Yeah,
and I think
get
we've
that.
seen in times when they're pushing for peace. I mean, I would say both sides seem to sabotage themselves constantly, like it happened in Oslo 1 and Oslo 2
Yeah,
and
no, no,
everything.
no.
Yeah.
I'm a like when it comes to Hamas or Hezbollah or the people's mentality on things like that. It's funny. It's funny when I'm listening to people like Hassan or Noah Samson talk about Hamas and Hezbollah, because it's because like when I hear people like in Lebanon or even Palestinians who talk about these things, uh, it's like they're talking about it with how do I say this? Like let's say uh, it feels very weird. It feels like when Hassan or like white people, let's say, talk about those organizations, it's like they're missing a lot of things that those people believe and know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like
Like
the one of the
if
things
I
I've
hear
explained is that like sometimes the people in the West will run propaganda for Hamas that like Hamas doesn't even run. So like when people deny, for
yeah,
instance, that like Hamas like uses human shields or fights outside of a uniform, like people say no, that's not true, or it doesn't happen, or whatever. But like Hamas and even the Palestinians will say, yeah, of course, like we're going to do everything we can to fight against Israel, and we will
yeah,
send.
it's
Yeah, so it's,
okay.
yeah.
I actually have a really good example of this. Let's say when people start saying, "Oh, in South Lebanon, for example, which is where I live really close to a place or like a village that's mostly Shiites. So that means it's mostly okay. That sounded a bit wrong, but like it has a lot of, I guess, Hezbollah operatives there.
Okay.
And during the war this last year, a lot of bombings happened in that village. So a lot of houses were bombed. And so when the West is talking about it, they're like, "Oh, they're bombing civilian houses," which is true. But it's like even people in the South and people who owned those houses knew that Hezbollah operatives not sometimes, Hezbollah operatives did break into civilian houses for either refuge or just trying to get food or something like that. So like, you know what I mean? It's like people know in Lebanon that, oh, they're bombing civilian houses because most likely someone sneaked in and they saw him and then they were like, okay, fuck him, let's destroy this whole house and him inside of it.
Sure.
But like, people in the West just talk as if it's like, oh, they just bombed a civilian house for no reason.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Anyways, the reason why I wanted to open this conversation is just, I guess I just wanted to express this frustration of like, I know, I think you have a really good understanding of the thing, or like a really good, I want to say opinion. It sounds dumb, but like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating for me that it's almost like it's always in the context of attacking the
Palestine. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree.
And it's,
I think the problem is that right now in the West, it's honestly, it's really hard to find anybody that would argue the super Zionist side. I think if I think about it, the only people that have actually argued against the pro Zionist side have actually been like Israelis, because nobody in the West now, like the conservatives don't, like nobody online at least, is going to be defending Israel a ton or anything. So it's literally just if I happen to be debating people from Israel on the topic, they'll be like the very pro Zionist.
Yeah, but yeah, also I feel like that's because a lot of the big topics are usually surrounded by the bad things that's happening from the Palestinian side, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I don't know if you agree with that, but like, let's say all the bad shit that's happening now with like the shit Netanyahu is doing with Trump giving him the, I guess,
the green light to do whatever,
the will to do everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels like this is not like this is a topic maybe that goes on stream. You watch like a short clip of Netanyahu doing something dumb, and you're like, and you do attack him on it, but it's like not emphasized the same way, which gives the impression.
Yeah, I understand.
Like, I really get, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just that it's very frustrating for me because I feel like if people, or like if my brother at least had a good, like if you've done, okay, I don't want to sound like I'm blaming you for it because it's really not.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's a thing. It's an issue. Yeah, I understand. It's annoying as fuck. I don't disagree with you. Yeah, but like even for like the Netanyahu stuff, like if I say like, yeah, this is unhinged or it's whatever, like nobody in my community is going to argue with me on that. So then it just seems like it's not even a topic we talk about for very long. I was kind of
that's the annoying thing.
But yeah, but I understand. I understand what you mean. It's frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just all I wanted to really talk about. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem. Have fun. Be careful.
Bye-bye.
Hello.
Hi, what's up, buddy?
Hello. I think you had some like really bad takes about Ukraine, a little bit about Israel. You said Russia should accept a lease on the port of Sevastopol, and they should be able to call that a win. And if they reject it, we should do a no-fly zone over Ukraine.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, that's like good memes. That's like the NAFO cringiness. But like, don't you think that's like, like at some point Ukraine's gonna, them losing land is not the end of the world, right?
I think it sets a very, very, very bad precedent that shows that as long as you've got a high enough likelihood of winning some conflict, that you're basically allowed to conquer sovereign territory. And I feel like a rewriting of the world order like that is incredibly dangerous and increases the likelihood of a whole bunch of horrible shit happening in the future.
Well, we did rewrite it, and we are living in a dangerous world. So it makes more sense that we like hold our cards close to our chest.
What do you mean we did?
And if you want to talk about,
what do you mean by that?
Well, they did take it in 2014, and we're kind of like, because the
so we should push back against it now. Fuck it.
Well, we are pushing back. I mean, they're losing a lot of people, and they're getting land that isn't ultimately that important. And
it
seems
important.
like the trade-off.
What do you mean? It is super important, and we're not pushing back on it.
It's not that. Russia had Ukraine for the entire Cold War. It's not like that's like was the power piece that allowed them to control the world.
What? Hold on, wait. What country do you live in?
I live in America.
Okay. Imagine if Mexico took over 1 square mile of like Arizona. Would you say that land's not important, so it doesn't matter?
Well, if I was Ukrainian, of course I'd say it matters. But if I was the NATO interacting with a Mexican-American war and we're losing political capital and support for the war, I wouldn't all of a sudden adopt a maximalist position.
I
Just
think
when
the
like
United States would have a maximalist position on its territory, and I think it would be right to. Of course we
yeah,
would.
and of course, and the Ukrainians, like when the lady gets on and she's like very passionate, like of course she's justified. But like if America wants to look for its interests, it's like, yeah, we need to preserve the liberal world order. That's an interest. But not having a direct conflict between nuclear powers is also an interest. And the
Okay,
precedent
hold
of
on.
nuclear
do
powers
you
going to
understand?
war.
Yeah, you understand that
like,
that rule that you've written would make you an international loser, right? Like if you've written the rule that you will never get into conflict with a nuclear power, you're telling that nuclear power that you can do whatever you want and you will never face significant pushback from the United States. Do you understand that?
Well, they do face significant pushback. They got in a very deadly war, and they faced a lot of international ostracization. Like it seems like the mileage.
Hold
how
on,
many
wait,
miles?
do you think it's a good rule that you'll face significant pushback and ostracization if you try to conquer territory from another sovereign country? You think that's a good rule?
Yeah. I think we can make it so that this war is more costly to Russia than the benefits they get from land conquest. I think we've already done that. I'm not sure. Like it could be that like, hey, if Ukraine keeps fighting, within 2 years they might lose a ton of territory. In which case we might want to cut off aid.
So
But
you think
it might be
do you
that,
think
like,
that
yeah,
right now
keep the war going forever.
no one is saying about forever. If the
No, I'm saying that. I'm saying if Ukraine is just going to keep staying where they're at, killing Russians, like, yeah, keep the war going forever. But if it looks like in the future they may start losing like a lot of territory, like we got to, stop it where it's at, not like, oh, what if we got all the way to Crimea?
okay, but like, why couldn't we try to like win the war?
Because, well, one, I like obviously talking about like political will is like kind of lame, but like that is a big thing. In 20 years, we know the Russian public is going to care more about Ukraine than the American public does. So like in the long term, it just seems.
So political will, I'm not going to necessarily disagree, but like part of what I do is my job is arguing to try to create the political will. That's what like a pundit or commentator or whatever does, right? But so I agree with you that the political will is not here right now for it, for sure. But my argument is that it should be here, right?
Okay, yeah. I'd say then, like, funding Ukraine, and if Ukraine can fight the war forever, like, that's fine. But there's no need for us to attack, because we've already drawn our line in the sand. Like, our war line is NATO. But if we all of a sudden say, no, actually, we're going to pick and choose what countries we go apeshit over defending, well, then now NATO doesn't really mean anything anymore,
So
because we've
what
lost
is
trust.
that?
Because we may treat a non-NATO country like a NATO country.
Sure. So what does that mean if we say that like think about all the negative impacts of that if you fuck around with a country, like the United States is going to come for you? Like, are people going to be too scared then to fuck around with conquering other countries? Isn't that a good thing? Isn't that a good chilling effect?
No, because I don't think that's what would happen. Obviously, if the United States went into Ukraine, blew up a bunch of Russian ships, and they're like, oh, fuck, we lost, it's embarrassing. Like, yeah, that'd be good. But there's also two other bad options there. One is like there could be a nuclear exchange. I know you don't think Putin will ever nuke us, right?
Well, no, not in an offensive war. Not in an offensive
in a hot war.
Yeah.
In a hot war over Ukraine. But hey, like, what if America thinks Putin is going to nuke us? Or what if Putin thinks America thinks he's going to nuke us? Like, there's planes like dropping out of the sky. There's missiles flying. We don't know if we can trust what the Russian military is doing versus like how connected they are to the president, like with internal factions in the government. There's like so much room for miscalculation and misinterpretation of an opponent's moves that like it seems extremely risky. But then if you're right and it actually is true that great powers can directly go to war without using nuclear weapons, if we answer the mutually assured destruction question, well, that's even it's not even worse, but it's almost just as bad, because now we're entering in a new future where great powers and whoever can go to war, because we know nobody's going to nuke each other.
Well, but
that to me is really scary.
The nukes help them, not us, right? Like if it was that great powers could go to war and that's the new thing, and so Russia's like, well, fuck it, let's fucking fight now, knowing nobody's going to nuke each other. Like Putin would be dead quicker than fucking Prigozhin or whatever the fuck, that one dude who came back after the failed mutiny. Like, it's not like Russia's like, we could take on the U.S. if only they didn't have nuclear weapons. The nuclear weapons are keeping them safe, right? Not us.
Well, the nuclear weapons at some point keep us safe. When you talk about like what's going on, like with I don't know if you think about like how China is dealing with Taiwan, how they're dealing with our naval
China can't
fleets
even. I don't
in
even think
the
China
ocean.
can sail their fleets across the ocean yet. I don't think we're worried about that yet. Maybe in the future, sure, but right now, nuclear weapons definitely keep other people safe more than the U.S. No.
Yes, I'd say so. Other countries are the beneficiaries of nuclear weapons more than us, but like still, like I don't think like this because right, think of like India, Pakistan, India, China. Like there's so many conflict zones where nuclear weapons are a deterrent to conflict. To like actual conflict that can kill a lot of people and disrupt a lot of things for a very long period of time. And just writing it off like, oh, America's badass, we can just win any conventional war. So like, hurrah, like let's have conventional wars everywhere.
Well, we don't. But it's
isn't
not. It's only
good.
a conventional war in response to territorial aggression or invasion. No.
Yeah, right now, sure.
Well,
but
but isn't that a good? Isn't that a safer rule to write than writing the rule that you can always aggress against somebody as long as they don't have nuclear weapons?
no, because you can aggress without getting a hot response for the United States, but like we're still going to fuck you over in other ways. Like I think if Russia took Kiev tomorrow, I'm not sure like, oh wow, like what a genius play by Putin. Like yeah, that would hurt, but I feel like they paid a really hefty price for what they got. I don't think we're getting this like do you think China is more seeing how Ukraine defended against Russia, do you think China's more or less likely to take Taiwan now?
I think China is far more likely now, but it has less to do with how Ukraine fared in the war and more to do with what the U.S. response was. Because I think the U.S. has shown that arguments like yours, like, oh, no, nuclear weapons, and they're not in NATO. So if I was China, why wouldn't you feel way more comfortable taking over Taiwan? If anything, what you're thinking of is I just got to win fast so that there's not like big sanctions or whatever, no?
Well, I mean that's probably like true. Like, yeah, like I mean, if China just like you woke up tomorrow and China had like done a coup in Taiwan, do you think America should go to war with them? Like, no. Like there'd have to be some way to push back.
I don't understand. Wait, so do you just think anybody should just take over anybody in the world then, or what do you, like? Do we not do anything for anything, or?
No, you do what you can with the response you're given. Like the United States, like I said, like
wait,
our
you
whole
just said that if
inside and outside,
if China took over,
is falling apart. We got to keep the cards close to our chest.
Yeah,
here.
but it's falling apart because of this type of weakness, of this lack of desire to have any sort of deterrent effect, because people know that the response from the U.S. is going to be weak or non-existent. No.
No, I don't think that's true. It seems like the problem is the United States is sticking its head in a lot of different places, and it's causing mission drift at home. We're confused about what our role is.
Hold on, not relevant.
Abroad,
there is no mission
everybody
drift for
has a
Ukraine. It's a
reason.
very clear mission with a very clear-cut set of people fighting. This is not a weird proxy war in the Middle East where there's 50 different like factions on each side. This is incredibly clear-cut.
It's fairly clear cut. I mean, what particularly we have to gain and lose in Ukraine, I think very quickly you get into this like idealist realm of like no country should ever invade any other country, and we need to go balls to the wall to make that clear.
It doesn't have to necessarily be no country should invade any other country, but maybe in Europe at least. I think it's safe to say that in Europe it would be good that people can't invade each other and steal territory.
I mean, that's why, like I said, that's why we have our line. And if we wanted to articulate a different line, that should have been made clear. But like, Russia knew we weren't going to, shoot its planes out of the sky if they invaded Ukraine. But they knew we were going to like arm Ukraine, and that's like a better deal than
yeah.
the
But like, do you
alternative.
think if the United States president would have been the people that the man that if it would have been the man that people said Trump was, or Trump would have been unhinged and he would have no-fly zoned Ukraine, or fuck it, he would have just started doing offensive operations. Do you think that Putin would have invaded Ukraine?
If he thought it was going to be a hot war against the United States, no, I don't think so. But I don't think we have like.
So then
I don't
doesn't
think we
it
can actually,
increase?
make that happen.
We
It's
absolutely
like the same
could, but we
with
literally
Taiwan.
could. No, why can't we? Do our planes not have fuel? We literally could do this.
I mean, it would involve like our planes getting shot down, their planes getting shot down. Like I said, there's like the miscalculation of like things escalating either like conventionally or nuclearly, or like, just in general, it opens up everything. Like it opens up fights between Russia and NATO allies at that point if they're already blowing up like American ships in
I don't understand.
blowing up their stuff too.
Okay, let's say that I dox you. I know where you live, and I'm going to come with a firearm, and I'm going to rape your friend. Okay, that's all I'm going to do, though. I'm only going to rape him. I'm not going to hurt anybody or shoot anybody or kill anybody. I'm just going to rape your friend, right? Do you use the same line of dialogue? Like, well, we don't want to fight against them coming here. We don't want to bring out any weapons. We don't want to escalate. We don't want to escalate, right? I'm just going to come to your house and rape your friend over and over and over and over and over again, right? Is that a good world?
No, that's not a good world.
Okay, how is that different than the world with Ukraine?
Because this is like an actual fight between great powers, and like an anarchistic.
No, you're not. That's not
like,
responsive to anything I just said. You're telling Russia that you can go in and rape Moldova, rape Georgia, rape Ukraine, rape who knows who next, right? But and you're saying, well, we're not going to do anything about it. No.
Yeah, I mean that's just like what having allies is when you have an ally and someone isn't an ally, and you say you can't fuck with our allies. Well, I guess you're saying you can rape the people that aren't your friends and family.
That's what you're saying,
like, well,
though. Isn't that exactly
no.
what you're saying?
When you have when you say like you can't invade these countries, yeah, you're necessarily saying like it's more okay to invade the other countries. Yeah, that's true.
I disagree, and I don't think the world has even functioned in this manner, right? Like, why did we, like, Libya wasn't part of NATO, right? But we still did a mission going into Libya to depose Gaddafi. So I mean,
yeah,
like,
I don't think that was necessarily in our best interest.
do you think intervention between like in Bosnia or with the Serbs, do you think that was okay, or should we have just allowed that genocide to go on? Like, that wasn't a NATO country.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that one. I mean, there's like different opinions on that. It seems like a fuck yeah success, like when it happened in the immediate aftermath. But it kind of seems like it also sowed a lot of like NATO skepticism within like a lot of these countries that like kind of seems to be popping up, whether we like it or not.
I don't think there's any NATO skepticism in any NATO. The NATO's just been super strengthened in all, like, new countries have joined NATO. Literally, it's grown. No.
Yeah, I agree, and that's like once they're in NATO, that's good. But we can't pretend like countries that aren't in NATO like are. That just it violates already. It's like scary thinking when NATO's really big. Like, well, is Turkey going to take the call when like Finland's invaded, or Estonia or Latvia, Lithuania? Like, I don't know. Will the American president take the call?
Well, but wouldn't you want them?
These are nice countries,
but wouldn't you
want? I
want?
don't think NATO.
Wouldn't you want other people to think we would? Isn't that kind of the point? Isn't
Yeah,
that
exactly.
what it?
Yes. Yeah. They should think like it's the same with Taiwan. China should think that if they invade Taiwan, we will go insane and go to war with them. But if they actually bite, we shouldn't like go through with our bluff. Like that would just be stupid.
That you understand that defeats the entire. There is no deterrence if you don't ever actually follow through, right?
I mean, I guess we do follow through sometimes, but it is like.
Well, I mean, for NATO countries,
point,
NATO countries just don't get attacked, probably because everybody thinks we will follow through, right?
Yeah, and that's a NATO country. That's like different, I guess. You know.
Like, if we were to tell Putin tomorrow, we've changed our mind, we're doing a no-fly zone over Ukraine, I just don't know what would you expect Putin to do? Like, okay, well, I'm going to start nuking Ukraine?
Well, he could. I mean, that is possible.
I'm not saying he could. Anything could happen. I'm asking, do you really think he would threaten nuclear warfare in an offensive war against Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, what if we think he's going to? What if he thinks, like, they receive a report, the Americans are convinced you're about to use a nuclear weapon, and they're preparing countermeasures, and, like, things happen fast, things can, like, when you read about, like, if you read, like, papers about the risk of nuclear war, it's very rarely, like, oh, like, some crazy person's going to press the button. It's going to be, like, wars happen in a really confusing situation. There's a lot of miscalculation. People trying to interpret
it's not
each
like
other's
some
intentions.
like, I don't know, I don't think, okay. I don't think you really believe this, and I don't think anybody really believes it. It's just a really goofy argument to me. Like, let's say that Putin tomorrow invades another non-NATO country. Do we just like let him do it over and over and over again?
If it's a non-NATO country, it depends. It depends on the country and like what. It's
Why?
Like in
Well, it depends. You just said it's not. If it's a non-NATO country,
Yeah.
why couldn't he just go over and over and over and over again?
Maybe it's really important to us. Like, I don't know. If it's a really important country and we've like somehow forgotten to write them into any of our treaties.
So if it's a really important country, now the threat of nuclear warfare and annihilation, now all of a sudden it becomes worthwhile.
Yeah, the risk, because it's not. I'm not saying there's like it's likely that if we do this, it's likely Putin will nuke us. But the risk of nuclear exchange, or like I said, like just encouraging future conventional confrontations with great powers, that isn't worth what we get out of defending Ukraine for an ideal. But if we're defending a more important place, or like situations are slightly different, we can have a higher risk tolerance.
So why? Like, so let's say that they do want to take back a part of Finland. You think it's worth risking nuclear warfare for a part of Finland?
More so than it is for Ukraine. Ultimately, if it was like a limited invasion of parts of Finland, I mean, I would expect a response to be like very serious because of like the sanctity of NATO and how important that is for our legitimacy and like credibility. But like, no, I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't press the button at that point.
Okay. I don't know. It just seems to me like we're writing a set of rules that is just encouraging future conflict. Basically saying if it's not a NATO country, you need to get nuclear weapons ASAP because nobody's going to do anything to help you.
I mean, that's probably
what?
right. I mean, it is probably true that countries should get nuclear weapons at this point.
Don't
Like,
you think
I mean,
isn't that a bad thing? Nuclear proliferation? I thought we wanted to reduce that. Like the United States has the opportunity to undo all of this with the push of a button. We could literally just say like, oh no, we are gonna fight on behalf of this, and then we don't have to worry about this, like setting this standard. Like we can just do that.
I think you're like, I think, like I said, like it's kind of like what No Opinion said a while ago, and Matt Iglesias says this a lot. Like right now, the United States is like heavily overweighing every region of the globe as being of utmost national security interests, and that's not helping us. Like the weights we put on how important Iran is in the Middle East, stopping Iranian nuclear proliferation, all these other things.
We don't, but the U.S. doesn't have
out
any.
of whack.
We don't have any weight there. What do you mean? It's not like we've got active troops to play. That's Israel's fight. We're not like actively deploying a bunch of shit to Iran all the time. No.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It is Israel's fight, and it's the only thing they help us with in international affairs, is fighting Iran. They don't help us with China or Russia. So yeah, that is Israel's fight, but the United States is heavily involved against Iran. I mean, Trump may go to war with them soon.
Well, we're also
if
involved
like
in
Iran
Iran.
might get a nuclear weapon.
We're also involved in that on behalf of Saudi Arabia's interests as well, right?
Which, like, you know what? Why is that?
Probably because we like to have a really strong and positive relationship with OPEC.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of like a continued Cold War era way of viewing the Middle East. That like
having a positive relationship with OPEC is part of the Cold War.
Viewing Saudi Arabia and Iran as like pillars of our foreign policy is absolutely a vestigial part of our foreign policy left over from the Cold War. The United States is a net oil exporter now. We don't need to be putting the Middle East as on this like huge important. Everything that happens here needs to have the United States involved. Like I get freedom of navigation against the Houthis, like that obviously makes sense, but control like a special relationship with Israel and Saudi Arabia right now is not getting us that much. Besides increasing the likelihood that we'll be convinced we need to go to war with Iran.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how this plays out in the next year or two because Trump wants to be the ultra fucking isolationist, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, yeah. Hey, at least I disagreed, right?
True.
You may have updated your opinion on this. I'm not sure. So the easiest way to critique the tariffs in a way that even Trumpers understand is that we don't really have the workforce or like the infrastructure to bring those kinds of jobs here like overnight. It's going to take a while.
Okay.
In light of that, the only way the tariffs make sense in any way, shape, or form is if Trump had the mindset that he wasn't going anywhere in 4 years.
Okay.
Do you still think, even with this tariff stuff, it's not worth just kind of screaming that from the rooftops?
No, I don't think it's worth it ever, even if I knew 100% that he would try it, because one, Republicans don't care, and two, there's more pressing stuff to message on. I think that if Trump was 15 years younger, I would assume 100% he would go for a third term. But I don't know. I don't know if he'll, like, he's aged a lot, and it's shown. And I don't know if he'll want to go for a third term. But also, I didn't think he would go for this term, so who knows? But I wouldn't message on it because it's so far away, and there's so many other things to message on that are a little bit more coherent and not as abstract.
If it's an argument that you're just wasting, there's more important things to talk about now. That's a stronger argument than I.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree that like it's an issue. Like if I was having like a 3-hour podcast arguing about all the things with Trump, I would probably bring up the third term thing. Yeah, but
it just seems like it seems like we've rolled that dice so many times where we didn't think he was going to do something, and then just the regret that we didn't follow through when he said he was going to do it before.
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
And
like,
this just-
he is worse than the most unhinged, crazy loser lefty fuck or whatever. The craziest progressive in 2016, like, wasn't correct about how horrible Trump would be now. Like, and I've even seen accounts like tweeting that out, that like saying like, looks like the some whatever people were right about everything. Like it's absolutely an unbelievably unhinged administration. Yeah.
So it's not worth talking about on a podcast. But do you don't have to mind read him, but do you think that's part of the mindset that he has, that these
No.
tariffs aren't going anywhere, and
No. The only reason I don't think that is
keep them
because I
on?
don't think Trump can see more than like 2 weeks into the future. I think he's a fucking retard, and I don't think retards have like a theory of time that goes out that far. Unironically, that's the only reason why I would say no, he's not thinking that far ahead. I think he's too stupid. But I could be wrong.
Okay. All right, that was all I had.
Okay, be careful.
Yeah. In your debate with that ex-Democrat lawyer, I remember him.
Oh, okay.
You guys got into the topic of immigration, and yeah, he said that immigrants suppress wages, and you kind of just went along with that.
Probably because I just didn't want to fight on every single point. But in general,
okay.
There might be like a marginal, I think it's a marginal effect on the lowest class of wage earners in the short term. I think it's a pretty small effect, but there's a whole bunch of complementary effects on both demand side things, on tax contribution thing. Yeah, I know all the arguments. Yeah, I probably just didn't want to fight on econ policy with that guy, but yeah.
Okay, and then on the you're talking. I think he was making the point that Trump was just enforcing laws we already have, while Biden wasn't, and that's the reason you're seeing such low encounter numbers.
Yeah, I saw the encounter numbers, how they've kind of fibbed that with the taking the 7-day rolling average and pretending like that's the total. I saw that for one thing. I don't know what their current explanation is of the current numbers, other than like we're just looking at like a single month, so who knows what it'll look like in the future. But yeah,
I mean, it has lowered, but you didn't mention the fact that Trump's taken a lot away. A lot of the reason people were crossing the border was to seek asylum or try to obtain TPS, and Trump's revoked a lot of TPS protections and completely shut down the asylum system, essentially. So
I don't bother arguing that because, and I agree, but I think that there's a hidden thing that a lot of conservatives are operating on, but they're not honest with it. And I think that conservatives, want to get rid of all asylum seeking. I don't think they can think any asylum seeking is worthwhile. I think they're fine, but they just lie about that. They're not forward with it. Yeah.
Do you think that's why they conflate asylum seekers and illegal immigrants?
Yes, because in their mind, there is no legitimate asylum seeker. I think at best, if you confronted one with this, they'd say, well, no, maybe asylum seeking is okay, but they should seek asylum in the country they stop in first, and there's no reason for them to come to the blah, blah. It'll be some bullshit like that, yeah. I think that if given a conservative, given them being able to enact their ultimate policy, I think they would get rid of all asylum seeking, yes.
Just a second. I have some research I want to show you. Should I just put it in side chat in the Destiny room?
I guess, or just read it off to us. What do you got?
Upload failed. Okay, whatever. Yeah.
There's also this weird conspiracy shit that popped up. I don't know when it started getting popular, but now that I'm hearing it, that the only reason why we had asylum seekers and other illegal immigrants in is because Biden was trying to ship people in for illegal votes or whatever fucking stupid shit. So, I don't know.
Okay, so do you know a lot of government agencies? Jesus. There's like a million conspiracy theories around immigration. Like none of them are true, essentially. But do you know a lot of government agencies will use the word criminal alien or stuff like that?
Okay.
Like when they're like, they'll use the word like or like non-citizen migrant or some shit like that.
Sure.
When they're trying,
they're
like defining certain classes. I think they need to like be more specific in their language with that and like clarify exactly what those definitions are. I mean, they do, but you actually have to like look for it because people just assume that criminal alien means illegal immigrant and that non-citizen migrant also means illegal immigrant.
That's the thing I bring up when I'm talking immigration. You've probably heard me say before that the number one tell that somebody is like just full of shit or whatever is people who will very easily and quickly conflate illegal immigrant with legal immigrant with asylum seeker with like all of these terms are just kind of like used like interchangeably with a lot of these people. Yeah.
Sort of thing. Did you see the Jesus?
No, I haven't seen him before.
Do you like do you trust Cato Institute or you kind of iffy on them?
I mean, most of what I see from them is generally okay. It's generally libertarian, but I mean, obviously, if you're talking immigration, they're like actual libertarians, so they tend to be pretty or extremely pro-immigration. And a lot of the research that people cite or that you can find that deals with like immigrant crime and stuff, like the Cato Institute, especially that Alex Nor, I wish I could remember his name, but they do like a lot of research from about that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they showed a graph, and I think it was that once Title 42 revoked, we saw less encounters.
Okay.
Which was interesting to me, because I think the logic there was when we revoked Title 42, we saw less repeat crossers because they just were
they were just what you saying?
Because under Title 42 they were just being expelled, and under Title 8, I think under Title 8 were...
I understand what you're saying. Yes, I remember reading about this, because for Title 42, if you expel somebody because of a Title 42 thing, they can just try to re-enter again. But if you expel them under a certain thing, that when they're caught, they're not allowed to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, Mike Lum, thanks for the 5 memberships.
Do you know about like the Do you know about like the House budget studies? House budget like fair?
Nope.
Those committees? You don't know about them? Okay, well, this comes up a lot in debates. I tend to have.
Okay. What about it?
So the House Budget Committee essentially, did this hearing, and I think like FAIR, CIS, and this one other group, I can't remember their name, did testimony in front of it, and they essentially just they did these studies, and like the problem with, and it was like the fiscal burden of legal immigration, and the problem with the studies was that they grouped in this U.S.-born citizens of illegal immigrants, for expenditures, but they didn't count the taxes paid by that group.
Okay.
And I think the House Budget Committee like came to the conclusion in that meeting that illegal immigrants are like a drain on the U.S. economy, or well, I mean the government.
Okay.
And it's kind of just like, do you trust House committees a lot, or?
I don't trust any committee with Jim Jordan on it, or almost any of the Republican-led. If there's a Republican on it, almost certainly not. I have to read into what they're doing, but it depends on probably what they're reporting on. But yeah, it just depends.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yep. Have fun. Be careful.
Okay. Bye.